Welcome, everyone, to the Vibes. Greetings and welcome to the Knights of Last Call. My name is Derek Melenda, and we are here today to enjoy some pumpkin spice latte. Delicious. Welcome, everyone. And for those of you who do not know what this is a first look. And in a first look, I, Derek, take a first look at a new RPG game. Traditionally, we look at games that are already released. In this case, however, we are going to be looking at kind of an exception. We're going to be taking a look at a new game called Pumpkin Spice. This is a game that is currently being backed or currently doing a crowdfunding campaign on BackerKit. I am not affiliated in any way, shape, or form with Pumpkin Spice. However, my wonderful audience and patrons decided through their generous tips and donations that they wanted me to take a look at this game. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at this RPG. Currently, this is a campaign's doing very well. It is a game that is apparently, from all the things that I'm being told, is being blasted from marketing. And I could say, for my own sake, I think I have seen maybe 40 or more ads for this game in the last 48 hours since the game launched. And I think maybe another dozen before it launched. And I don't think I'm the only person who's been seeing this. So I definitely think that they are on a kind of a heater. That being said, the game is coming out, or the game is currently BackerKit. It's been out for 48 hours, and I think they've raised almost $500,000. So whatever they're doing it well. Now, I don't know the genesis of this game. I don't know where or how it came from. It's coming to us from Acheron Studios. However, I do not know. The game is illustrated by and is supported by the art of a Instagram artist by the name of SimzArt. And SimzArt, this is their Insta feed, has a very, 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 very specific art style, which is this kind of like emo, queer, tatted up witch vibe, aesthetic, lo-fi with little spiritual cats. And as far as I could tell, all of their art follows this vibe. Now, this individual is rocking down almost 500,000 followers. So I did not know them before this, but apparently at least two of the people I know follow them. And this is their art style. This is what they do. Now, I do not know. Now, they are doing the art for this game. I do not know if they are doing if the person who is making this game went to them and said, "Hey, I want to do a game based off of your art," or if this person was already making a game and then said, "Hey, can you do the art for me?" That I'm not clear. I'm not sure if it was, kind of a how these paths crossed. Maybe someone who's been more familiar with the Kickstarter campaign, or maybe more familiar with the artist, could answer that. I'm not 100% sure, but it is definitely a vibe that is carried over into the actual RPG itself. Now, which we'll pull up here in a second. If I could actually ever bring my PDF over, that would be great. Oh, I have my PDF viewer off. That's why. So you can see that the art this is the character sheet is quite literally the same. And here is our quick start. Now it says it is based on SimzArt's illustration. So I am going to guess that this is a top-down design, which is to say that the authors or designers of this game decided that they looked at their art of this person. Maybe they were a fan of it. and said, I am going to make a game based off of that. Now, Acheron Studios is, to the best of my knowledge, an Italian design company. So this is, they have done Lex Arcana, Bracanolia. Now, these are not games that we have covered on this channel, but they are games that I am familiar with. And just to say the least, Brancolia and Lex Arcana are absolutely nothing like this. But anyways, I'd be very interested to find out how we arrived at how we got here. So one of the cool things about this backer kit, and I think this is a good lesson for everybody, is that you can download a Quickstart version of the game before you even back the game, which I think is an absolutely wonderful idea. It shows people that you are committed to the game. It's not just vaporware, that the game is finished or nearly so. It gives your prospective backers an opportunity to engage with your game before they actually get a final product. You get a vast playtest from your extremely invested, aka the people who came to your backer kit, came to your Kickstarter. All in all, I think that this is the way to do it. So they are doing everything right, and obviously the game has a great aesthetic. You may not like that aesthetic, but it is obviously a very harmonious and tied in aesthetic if the game is, based on what it is. So all in all, I think this is, they're doing everything right. And the fact that the backer kit is crushing it and the crowdfunding campaign is almost at $500,000 suggests that they know what's up. So this is Pumpkin Spice, a magical, cozy RPG. And insofar as I can tell, you are barista witches who run a coffee shop. Now, there's no, save the world. There's no fighting the dark demons. This isn't even Charmed, which was a great show in its day. You're not fighting any of that. You're just, doing that. Now, Simon says, let's see if it's another attempt to trick us into reading microfiction. Given that this is a quick start, I don't expect there to be microfiction. Loyger, as I was pointing out before, earlier, the Instagram feed. Oh, I closed the Instagram feed. That's why. The Instagram feed of this artist would suggest it is anything but AI. In fact, this artist has been extremely prolific for a number of years, and their entire catalog of art does seem to be this style of art. So that's okay. That's okay, Loyger. So it's definitely not AI art. They literally have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces of here going back what appears to be at least a couple of years. So in any case, real art done by real people. I should also note, if we hop over to backer kits, let's see where we're at. So we're closing in on $500,000 because this is 425,000 euro, which I'm pretty sure is close to $500,000 US. 3,700 backers. It's 12 days left. And we can see here, run a magical cafe, protect the world's magic, and tell a story, one latte and a couple of D6 at a time. This is a magical cozy RPG illustrated by SimzArt and inspired by Kiki's delivery service, Legends and Lattes, Coffee Talk, and the magical girl genre. It is a narrative-first and character-driven game with low prep and simple rules that follows the adventures of a young coven of witches tasked with protecting and growing a fount of magic by brewing magical drinks. So there you go. Get all cozied up. Now, we've been talking on this channel for a while about, the rise of the cozy core. It kind of started with what was it called? Ojibama or whatever the name of that game was, right? As sort of kind of tapping into the, more of the, Miyazaki, the sort of Studio Ghibli aesthetic. We joke that one of the ways to make your game really successful is do whatever you're going to do, but then be like Studio Ghibli aesthetic. And, you're guaranteed to get like at least a 30%, 40% bump. Thank you. Obojima. Thank you. Regardless, these people right, wrong, or indifferent, they are leaning into their barista hipster emo aesthetic. Okay, and by the way, I just got back from an emo cruise, so you know, I love pumpkin spice lattes. So what can I say? But they are all in because not only are you getting a game, a magical cozy game, you're getting things like your own lo-fi vinyl.
Edward tipped $5. Late fee. Great opening. Thanks for having no shame.
Thank you, Edward. Appreciate you. I appreciate that. You took you appreciated the extra steps I took to make this a pumpkin spice stream, indeed. But again, they are committing to the bit, right? You get a staff for working at Pumpkin Spice. You get a lo-fi vinyl pressing. You get a canvas carry bag. You get a diary. So they are all in. This is very much the slice of life. Stock up on supplies, invent recipes, interact with customers, and make beverages to unlock your customers' potential. Okay? And again, the whole game appears to be heavily influenced and, in fact, illustrated by SimzArt. So there you go. We're going to get into the actual Quickstart rules, but this is the backer kit. We do have a link to the backer kit below. Again, I have no affiliation with this, and we'll get into it. I have no idea. So for those of you, again, who don't know what a first look is, I open up an RPG and I start looking at it. This is not a review. Obviously, I have not played this game. It is just me responding to this game. Now, so Pumpkin Spice, the Magical Cozy RPG. This is the Quickstart. Not the final game, but the Quickstart. All right, we've got the information about Witches Cafe. We've got the core rules, which is the essence die, information about our witches, our cafe, and it looks like we have a little Quickstart opening here with the grand opening, rush hour, the first medium, the first UME, and then an ending and a new beginning. So it does have a little quick start adventure. So we're really not getting a ton of rules here, but, you know, we're here. I believe it was Tasty Trekkie and I think Edward. So if that is the answer to that question. Oh, good. I got it right. By the way, if you want to support more first looks, please remember to super chat or tip. It's always appreciated to support this kind of coverage. And of course, also our tip goal is to support more studio streams. As you guys maybe saw yesterday or 2 days ago, yesterday, the studio stream is really coming along, and the studio rather is really coming along. And it's looking good. We're getting things set up. People said it looks really good, sounded really good. So I think we're starting to get it dialed in, and I'd love to be able to do some more studio streams. Get Bob back over here, get Tim over here, get Smith over here, and have a great time. All right. Up. All right, we got a little bit of microfiction, so we're going to read it. That late morning, our visitor had the distant gaze and damp, plastered hair of someone who had spent too much time brooding in the rain, having left their umbrella back at home. They sat at a corner table, at a healthy distance from the other smiling patrons, holding steaming mugs, books, or earphones in their ears.
$10. I fully support Derek selling out and becoming a shill for Emos.
Cheers. I actually do love pumpkin spice lattes, by the way. They're just not available right now at Starbucks. So I had to go and I had to buy some pumpkin spice syrup. It wouldn't have felt authentic anyway. Thank you, Apex. Appreciate it. Again, I am a legit emo. I mean, I may be in my 40s, but 20 years ago, I was an emo kid. I just got back from an emo cruise. Who could say what tapestry the fount was weaving with its magical threads, pulling the visitor towards the cafe? The witch beside me at the bar elbowed me gently in the ribs. Of course I've seen them. I wasn't daydreaming. My heart thumping, I straightened the pointy hat upon my head and reached the visitor, stepping lightly. Welcome to the Cafe Arcana. What are you searching for? They stared at me, frowning, and shrugged. "'Twas just out for a stroll. I had no idea that there was a place like this in the neighborhood. Is it new?" "We've actually been around for a while." "A few centuries." "Rough week?" "Normal, I guess. Lots of thoughts in my head. You know what I mean? Just the same old stuff. Stillness. Imagination." I nodded to myself as I took notes. A textbook case in today's chaotic life. I tucked the notepad in the back pocket of my jeans and traced a symbol in the air, crafting the recipe and delighting at the thought of the magic notes to infuse in this perfect beverage. Grab a warm cup, get comfortable, and join me as we flip through the Pumpkin Spice Quickstart. The magic begins here. All right. Here we go. Also, Derek rolls at disadvantage on romance checks according to the number of piercings a female has. This is mostly true. Oh, somebody says we need music. Okay. All right. You're right. I actually completely agree with you. So hold on a sec here. Let's go here. Let's go lo-fi beats. Let me know if that's loud enough and not too distracting. Get some lo-fi beats going. One thing that's interesting about this artist I've noticed is that they like to put Band-Aids all over their characters. I'm not sure why that is, but they do. I've just noticed it from the art. Legs, arms, face, not sure. But she looks gauged out. Look at that. She's got some tunnels. Oh, it's an anime thing. Okay. It's cute, apparently. Okay. Oh, the cats are always scratching them. Okay. Again, just let me know if the music is distracting or too loud. We can adjust it. How to use this quick start. This is a cozy RPG in which you play a coven of witches running a magical cafe, looking to preserve and grow the mystical fount of magic that dwells in their establishment. The quick start is designed as a tutorial to read and play together and experience your cafe's first day. Scotty F. Thank you, Scotty.
Scotty Fournier tipped $25. Here is to more studio stream, especially if they have sick lord umps on Middle Earth.
Thank you, Scotty. Yes, we did get a big tip. I did try to dump a significant amount of lore about the history of Arnor, the Kingdom of Kings. All right. Up to 4 witches can play this quick start. One of them will be the Guide of the Coven. That would be the game master in another game. So it does sound like this game is at least co-op or semi-co-op. In certain specific situations, the guide acts just like a normal classic GM, interpreting the world and responding to the witch's actions. However, more often than not, the guide takes on the role of a normal witch, a real player character who participates in the coven's actions and grows with it. The only difference is that the guide should usually act first to set an example, or last to leave room for the other witches during a scene. Now, that's an interesting idea. Immediately, my brain goes to mega games because I like the idea of this kind of this kind of GM role that can switch. Now, it is true when you have a war rules light game. That is absolutely the case, Helmet, for sure. This approach is possible because the narrative is not polarized by the GM. Within parameters established by the type of scene, called moments, so we got our first bit of indie nomenclature. A scene is called a moment. Or by the guide, the witch who acts and tells the story and expands the narrative details of the situation, developing the plot, describing their actions, and recounting the outcome of their dice rolls when necessary. The golden rule is this: whoever acts tells the story, following what was previously established by the scenarios or players. So basically, they're saying the GM does not have the the GM is not the only person who has permission to alter and modify the story. That being said, the guide and the type of scene that you are having can set parameters for what you can and can't do. You could almost maybe think of it as a palette, right, for the scene, if we're thinking about in terms of microscope. Besides this, you will need the witch and cafe sheets, dozen D6s, and some pencils, and perhaps a sheet of paper for notes. So real quick, this is an example of a pre-generated character. So this is what the character sheet looks like. Very minimalist. Looks like it's a 2-page sheet. And then this is the cafe sheet. Looks like we've got ingredients in our pantry that can come in one of maybe 6 categories, a quantity column. We have a score for the power of our font of magic. We have a literal tracker for vibe. And we also have a tracker for the number of magical incidents we've had. All right. Ooh, not gonna lie. This one's cute. All right. It's literally a vibe clock. So Kuskarek, it may use custom dice, but as far as I could tell from this chart, it looks like a 1 just means this, and a 2 just means this, and a 3 just means this. So yes, it's convenient and nice, but you know, if the dice comes up a cup or a 3, I guess that means as much as anything else, because either way it means empathy. So if somehow a cup means empathy to you versus a 3, I mean, I guess it's technically custom dice, but it doesn't really help you, right? Like, you have to still kind of know what it does and what it means, which is why they probably have this cheat sheet right on your character sheet. So Vince says, man, the art and design work in this is so insane. I think this is barely a game, but it is definitely nailing the aesthetics. So I can't deny that. I mean, this, everything from every block of text looks like it's ripped out of a different notebook, a different piece of paper, the art, the style, everything about it is screaming vibes. The vibe clock is definitely vibing. Does the air seem thicker? Okay, so far we've gotten 3 microfictions and no rules. So, okay, we're microfiction 3, rules 0. Just saying. Does the air seem thicker and your skin tingle as if awaiting a shiver? If you squint, following the dance of dust motes through the light, gazing towards the shadowy silhouettes of the city, you may notice that something unusual is vibrating all around you, hidden from view. If you were a witch, you would know for sure that it is magic. The world of pumpkin spice is much like our own, except for one small detail. Magic is real. Although less vibrant than it once was and almost suffocated by technology and industrial progress, magic continues to fuel the dreams of people. For many, it is nothing more than a breath of hope in the whirlwind of everyday life. For others, it is the very cornerstone of their existence. These people are called witches, and since time immemorial, they have practiced magical arts for the good of the world. So it looks like the witches are basically the guardians of sources of magical emanations. These magical emanations are called founts, or fountain. I would call them fountains. Founts is a weird word. I would just call them fountains. The fulcrum of all magical power. To practitioners who accept its call, they begin the delicate journey of a new coven. All right. So basically, yeah, we've got magic in the modern day, but, magic is kind of quiet, subtle, hidden, right? Technology and the busy nature of our lives has sort of squashed it. And it's your job to sort of nurture magic while still using it, it sounds like, to do a good job. Shouldn't fount be a font? Font would actually be a lot easier for me to say, so I'm just going to say font. or fountain, or font. Fonts of magic. Once upon a time, fonts were small enchanted oases that dotted valleys, mountains, and islands. The excessive use of their magical potential led many of them to dry up prematurely, depriving the land of its treasure, and for the witches their source of power. In today's life, it is increasingly difficult to preserve these enchanted quarters from the rapid advance of cities and factories, as well as from the ambitions of those who crave their secrets. Every now and again, a font is renewed and comes back to life, or perhaps a witch discovers an ancient one. Fonts may be in spiritual places where witches have danced and performed sacred rituals, in clearings where they celebrated their Sabbath and where nature still grows freely, or dreams and hopes shared over a good cup of tea may generate a fledgling font. All right. So let's get some mechanics. We got our first mechanic. Also, more Band-Aids. In terms of rules, the font of magic has a limited number of magic points, which starts at 10, which rise and fall based on the actions of your coven. Using magic or casting spells requires that you spend magic points, and the reserves are a resource shared by the entire group. We can spend points independently and whenever we want, but safeguarding the fountain is a shared responsibility. If the magic points reach 0, the font reaches 0, it risks being extinguished forever, depriving us and the world of one of the last glimmers of magic. So you can kill your campaign, don't go to 0. This is like the anti-draw steel. There's like so much art, it's like overwhelming. Oh, this is a 2-page spread. Look, I'm not even looking at the book in a good way. Look at that. Man, respect for him, and he really likes he really likes tunnels in the ears of the girls, and I like them too. So, witches are people who perceive and manipulate magic. They've been around forever. And if a new fountain appears and begins its renewal, the magic itself may choose new witches to come and live in the vicinity. This process begins a journey of realization, capital R, for both the witches and the fount. Forming a coven to oversee the growth of a font is intertwined with the emotional and magical realization of its witches, which take place under the watchful eye of the World Witch Association. Tending to a font is an honor, but also a burden, because the magic's well-being depends on the witches' choices and how to face their new enchanted life together. Inevitably, all living beings are attracted, even unconsciously, to the magic of the fonts, often ending up forming places of gathering or prayer. The witches who oversee these places usually offer visitors delights to relax the soul, a drink or a pastry that connects them with the magical fountain. Today, bars, restaurants, breweries, and pastry shops are just some of the ways that witches have found to help fonts connect with the emotions of their mediums, people deeply connected with magic, and who might amplify the magical power of the fountain itself. How? With empathy, active listening, and above all, a warm beverage. For your witches, the fount is associated with a cafe, the emblem of the magical atmosphere of the third millennium, with its hot and elaborate drinks. Your coven's job is managing the font's magic with care while awakening wonder in the hearts of those who visit your establishment. So there you go. What is this game about? Your job is to manage the fountain's magic with care while awakening wonder in the hearts of those who visit your establishment. Because your cafe is found near one of these magical places of power, witches can channel the 6 essences of magic into delicious drinks, which are then served to visitors. All right, core rules time, people. To play Pumpkin Spice, we can use 6-sided dice, or we can use the special essence dice, which are made for the game, which replace the numerical values with symbols. And since these have absolutely no difference, you can even say the dice are a vibe. These symbols, or their numbers, are called essences, and they stand for a series of narrative elements, spheres of influence, and even interconnected skills. Every page in this book is like a just incredibly beautiful 2-page spread. It's crazy. I mean, obviously it's easier to do this when you don't have a lot of rules, but man, it is crazy. They're just the little details. All right, so here are the 6 essences of magic. Authority. Essence of authority, which is the shaping of reality through physical or magical force. Empathy. Nature. Essence of nature, the natural world and an individual's connection to that natural world. Empathy. Essences of empathy are human communities and the connections within and between them. Stillness. An essence of stillness is an individual's deepest, most private, and hidden self. Imagination, the perception of the future, as well as artistic and creative flair. And wisdom, the perception of the past, as well as the ability to interpret personal and collective history. Somebody said, "What is stillness?" It's a void from Legend of the Five Rings. It's this idea of emptiness, oneness, right? Can you know everyone else? Well, maybe the most difficult person to know is yourself, By the way, a lot of people spend a lot of money on therapy in order to be able to even figure this stuff out. So, clearly having access to that, right, is a big deal. Can you truly be honest with yourself, right? Can you have that element? It is not the fruitful void. It is the fruitful vibe. I love it. In Pumpkin Spice, we never add or subtract numbers. When we roll dice, we are simply doing it to see which essences pop up. In this text, we will often find the symbols indicating these essences, and the corresponding symbol between the name and number is shown in our sheets. All right. Now, without knowing anything else, it's poll time. All right. All right. Empathy, stillness. All righty. Poll is reset and the poll is up. Which magical essence would you want power or dominion over? Authority, nature, empathy, stillness, imagination, or wisdom? Let's see where we're at, folks. Oh, that is my old soda. I was like, why does that taste terrible? Oh, because it's just my old soda from earlier today. I forgot I was drinking my coffee. Ooh. All right, we know who the power gaming fucks are, the people who voted for authority. Just kidding, just kidding. Room temperature soda. Make some coffee out of that. I'd rather not. All right, all right. I got some empathy. The ability to form connections with human communities. Calteric says guilty as charged. Somebody voted for one. Ooh, Vin says, I feel like empathy or imagination are more OP than authority. I love this community. I love Vin, and I love all of you, because this is the type of thing. That's the type of like where it's like I'm like, authority's OP, and then somebody votes for empathy, and they're like, actually, empathy is actually OP. All right, cool stuff. Force says authority because I'm the bad guy. Cue Billie Eilish song. Tasty Trekkie, who, by the way, is mostly responsible for this stream today. Thank you, Tasty Trekkie. Says, Derek, your weakness for piercings and tats will get you later in the file. Okay, all right, we'll do. Well, you know what? I'll say this, Tasty Trekkie. It's already gotten me pretty bad in my real life, so that's pretty good there. All right. Good vote. I'm going to leave this up. If you haven't voted or you want to keep changing, if you want to change it up, you can certainly do that. But I'm going to stick that there in the bottom. We're going to keep going on. Jake says, I've been there. Oh, changing vote doesn't work? Oh, okay. I thought it did. So what do these essences do? Well, the essences provide narrative ideas during scenes that we are playing. Each moment, which is, remember, is a scene, and day we experience, has certain predefined elements, either decided in advance or randomly selected by the guide before the session. However, the game is designed to leave plenty of room for improvisation and for introducing new elements by rolling one or more essence dice. At specific moments during a session, or generally when any witch wants to add details to a situation, they can roll the dice and introduce a new narrative element by interpreting the outcome of the roll. As always, the person who rolls the dice tells the story, but suggestions are always welcome. So there's a couple of things here which I'm getting a vibe from. If you've ever played a Quiet Year, which you should if you haven't, the Quiet Year has this really, really interesting mechanic, which is you go around, you take turns, and on your turn, you draw a card, and you make a choice, and then you have to add something to the map. But the game expressly prohibits you from doing groupthink or table talk. Now, while this game isn't quite saying it, it is trying to say, when it's your turn, you get to tell the story. Now, you can get suggestions from other players, but at the end of the day, your turn is your turn. And I think that's really cool. Secondly, I'm definitely getting the vibe here that this is basically just a guided storytelling exercise, right? Because you can't just add anything. You roll the dice, and maybe the magic indicates that there's some sort of imagination component. And so, again, you're going to sort of maybe be limited in what you can push and what you can add in terms of story details, which, I don't hate. Vin has a layout question. What do you think of the move of this game to have fewer words / rules on each page, but to have each page essentially be 1 to 2 single concepts? Well, that only works if you don't have a lot of rules. It's a lot easier when you don't have complex mechanics or a lot of complicated choices. I mean, I like the idea that on a single 2-page spread, we can express and teach you one element of the game. It makes it there very much, very readable for sure. But also, I mean, the layout of this game is definitely what they're going for, Essences and action resolution. Essences don't only provide storytelling details during the game, they can also be used to resolve actions. When called for, typically once per scene, our witches can make a test to see which direction the story will take. So, the witch making the test describes the situations and their actions, then selects the trait to bring it into play. The guide decides which of the 6 essences is most relevant in this context. This is the essence that we want to be able to obtain with our roll if we want the test to be successful. Okay. So, in other words, the GM might say, well, this is an imagination test, so you're going to need to roll your dice and get 5s. Remember that recipe you glimpsed in the ancient alchemical culinary grimoire? Essence of Wisdom, 6. Making techno-magical improvements to the coffee machine? Essence of Imagination, 5. The choice of which essence is the goal of a test is primarily a narrative question. However, as we will see later, each type of witch, so there's like classes, interesting, has advantages when testing for a specific essence, thanks to their specific magic. Okay, so it sounds like your class, which type of witch you are better at maybe pushing the narrative in different directions based off of their skill set. Okay, interesting. Damn, she thick too. Sorry. Cosplaying emo goth girls. It definitely is Derek's type. Sorry. Test outcomes. Sorry, we got distracted there. I don't like cats though, so that helps. Tests have two possible outcomes: favorable or unfavorable. All right. If we obtained all of the essences required by the test, the outcome is favorable. The situation takes a positive turn and things begin to go well. Interesting. So, okay, so we get this idea that if multiple essences are required, then you need to roll multiple dice, multiple outcomes. If we didn't obtain all of the essences required, the outcome is unfavorable. The situation takes a turn for the worse or go badly. Note, there is no null resort. There is no null result, right? It's either good or things get worse. Jesus Christ. I'm not even going to read that. I'm just going to put it up on screen. FL4G, yes, this entire game is inspired by, as far as I can tell, and illustrated by an Instagram artist by the name of SimzArt. They are not only the principal artist of the game, it seems like that their style of art was the very inspiration for this entire game. So you can check them out on Instagram at SimzArt with a Z, SimzArt. Thank you, Tasty Trekkie. Testy Trekkie, sorry. The person who rolled the dice describes what happens. Again, accepting suggestions. We can also briefly consider the specific combinations of essences generated by the test. Oh, so that's a fun challenge, right? It's like, what's an example of it? It's like, I mean, it's a little bit like interpreting the symbols in a Genesis game. Right. So like if you've played a Genesis game and you roll the symbols and you maybe you didn't succeed or you did succeed, but you also got, a misfortune, but you got two fortunes or something like that. Right. And your job is to sort of interpret the dice pool. So, depending on what combination of essences you generated, you could use that to sort of inspire, and you should use it, to guide your narration, which is actually, truthfully, a legit role-playing game. In other words, the game mechanics are the thing that then forces you to sort of role-play or take the action and outcome in a different way, which is interesting. Again, it's a guided storytelling experience. Each of our witches is defined by 6 traits. Narrative labels that tell us something about them and give us an idea of how they prefer to deal with situations. When we make a test, we visualize, we describe what we want to achieve and how we intend to act. And then we choose which of our traits to bring into play and color the scene differently. Each trait is associated with a level between numbers 1 and 3. This is the realization level. A score that generally shows how fundamental that trait is to the witch and how competent they are with it. When we make a test, we roll 1d6 plus 1d6 for each level that we bring into play. In other words, we're going to roll between 2 to 4. So if we go back to our witch pre-gen, so you can see here, so she has 6 traits. You see yourself as the life of the party. You study magic to fight the planet's corruption. Your magic calms people down. Your familiar is charismatic. Your mundane feature is you are an attentive listener, and others see you as kind. Now, this is a level 1 character, so all of your traits are level 1. So if one of those traits would apply, you would add 1 extra die to your roll. Otherwise, you're only rolling a single die. This is the realization level. So I guess the idea is you sort of self-realization, right? Self-actualization, like maybe as you get more in touch with who you are, you realize more and more and you get stronger levels, question mark, maybe, I don't know. We can also see over here that this witch is keyed or coded to empathy, which is disgusting that I already remembered that the coffee cup meant empathy. Here's a different witch. This is the green witch. Oh, by the way, that witch we just looked at is the Coven witch. But if we take a look at the green witch, she is in tune with the nature essence, and she sees herself as being one with nature. You study magic to protect my loved ones. Your magic heals the body. Your familiar is curious. Your mundane feature is that you're an animal lover, and others see you as unpredictable. So, pretty cool. I like it. What if we don't have any traits to... Now, by the way, it says... For the trait. So it looks like we can only bring in one trait at a time. Yes, we choose which of our traits, not all of them. So we can only bring in one. So we're only ever going to roll at most 4 dice. What if we don't have any traits to bring into play? Then it might be better to reimagine how we plan to change the situation, choosing an approach more suited to our witch and their traits. But if we really have no other options, we still just roll a single d6. Seems kind of bleak, but all right. Now, mechanically, I do feel like that's a little boring. I don't know if that's a pre-gen problem, but, you know, basically all of your traits are level 1, so you're only ever rolling at most 2 dice. And the game is basically saying, you know, you're kind of fucked if you don't roll more than 1 dice. And that means everything that my character does have to kind of fall into one of these 6 categories. That part is feels a little bit boxed in. Again, I'm, you know, jumping to conclusions, but that's what we do here on these first looks. It's interesting. Okay. Ooh, more microfiction. Right. I don't see a whole lot of evolution of our character. But again, you know, remains to be seen. Remember, there is a page... No, that's it. That's the only thing. Oh, there's spells. We also get spells. I don't know how that works yet. We don't know how that works. Got it. Testy Trekkie says, character generation apparently involves more mechanics that get you more than 1 dice, but this is just a quick start issue. Okay, fair enough. Ishmadrad, that's a great way to put it. Ishmadrad says, let's say it's a new way to mix and match an accelerated Fate game, a Fey game, into something slightly different. Yeah, I would think that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, Fate Accelerated did have stunts, but you have these spells, and we don't know how these spells are going to work out. So, okay. All right, these ones don't hit me the way that the other one hit me. Anyways, our witches. Ooh, more microfiction. A call, as faint as a half-remembered dream, brought us here, one by one, near a magical fount that whispers our name. Before arriving, we really thought we were fully fledged witches. Now, faced with the purest form of magic, we just know we were wrong. There is so much to learn about our nature and about the font we have decided to protect. All right. Each witch has 6 traits, fundamental parts of their character, elements that define and guide them in the world. Creating a witch is easy. We just answer a short questionnaire. But for simplicity's sake, we're only using the pre-built witches. So the green witch, it believes that magic is all around you. The Coven witch, you were born and raised in magical witch society, basically. By the way, your empathy. The secular witch is more interested in while other witches are more interested in spiritual aspects of magic, the application of witchcraft requires a certain degree of practicality. You love to combine magic with craft work. Okay, so this is our imagination. Yeah, it's our creativity imagination witch. And lastly, we have the traditional witch. Exploring ancient traditions is your life's greatest goal, as well as the passion that keeps you awake till dawn, gazing at the sky. You pursue knowledge, and you like to do so in old-fashioned way, crumbled papers and dusty tomes, and their essence is wisdom. So we've got a wisdom witch, a creativity witch, a nature witch, and an empathy witch. R.I.P. authority witch, I guess. Well, Simon, I mean, number one, that's probably part of the art aesthetic and part of the vibe. I will say that even the game Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which is called Thirsty Sword Lesbians, did say how you don't have to be a woman. You can be a man, and you don't have to be a lesbian. However, this game seems to pretty be well indicated that you are a witch, you are female, and you are queer. But, you know, I don't know precisely how strong those restrictions are implied. Certainly the art does. Oh, never mind. We've got the answer right here. Keep in mind that our witches are young only in terms of their magical journey, but they may be older in years. Likewise, though we might instinctively think of a witch as feminine, the world of witchcraft is as diverse as humanity itself, attracting practitioners of gender, race, beliefs, and identities. So, the problem here is they are basically like, look, you could be any age, you could be any gender, you can be any identity, sexual or otherwise. However, the artist only draws, you know, young, adult, cute, hipster women, lesbians. So the problem is that the art vibe, you know, is kind of skewed to wherever the thing. So, see, now that art is a little bit too, that's too anime for me. I don't know what it is about that art. Maybe it's I don't know. There's something about that particular piece of art that it leans a little bit too anime for me. But anyways, what is this? Oh, magic and dice. Okay. Each witch is connected to a specific essence. We saw that. When we make a test and after, ooh, great mechanic. After seeing the roll's outcome, we can spend 1 magic point to transform one of the essences we obtained into the essence that we are connected to. So we get a randomness sandwich, right? Sort of. We get input randomness. We roll our dice. Then after we see the results, we can spend one of those very precious magic points. Remember, if we go to 0, life as we know it ends. And we can always transform one of our dice into what our preferred essence is. So now can we do it twice? No, it looks like we can just spend 1. So, for example, the traditional witch is connected to wisdom. So if we roll 2d6 and we get a authority and imagination, and we needed to get a wisdom, we can spend 1 magic point to transform one of the essences into wisdom. Meanwhile, a green witch is connected to nature, and they could turn... Oh, yeah, they need a cat. What symbol is the cat? Was cat a symbol? Oh, stillness. I forgot about that one already. They can transform. Or you could transform the essence we were connected. Oh, okay. So if you roll any of your elements, then it becomes a wild card for a magic point. So that's kind of cool, right? So you could always convert any symbol into your symbol for 1 magic point, and then you can convert your symbol into any other symbol. So in some ways, as long as you have the magic points, rolling your own symbol is ideal because now it's a wild card and you can convert it into anything else. That's a really cool mechanic, actually. That's actually really neat. Remember to always describe how the use of magic manifests. It will be invisible to mundane people, but not to other witches or supernatural creatures. We can use magic to manipulate the results of the dice, multiple times on the same test. Okay, so we can. But each time we must spend 1 magic point. This is an extraordinary power, but one that progressively drains the fountain we have sworn to care for and part. So... Okay, so that's cool. More microfiction. Right. Yeah, I'm reading it that way, Jake. So I'm reading it that I could spend 1 magic point to transform any of the dice into my symbol, and then I could spend another magic point to transform that symbol into any symbol, right? That's how I would read it. I don't know if that's exactly what they intended, but I do get the sensation that if you're willing to spend 2 magic points, you can basically get any result you want. So if you're willing to pay the price, you can kind of get any result you want. This definitely seems to be something original. I mean, we've looked at a lot of games on this channel. I don't think we've ever seen it. But to be fair, this is doing something very unique, very different. I mean, this is a guided narrative game, so it's not really like a mechanics-driven game from a gamist standpoint. You start with 10 MP, but it's a shared resource, Beowulf. Now, we haven't gotten back. We don't know how it restores. We don't know how it gets, but we know you start at 10, and I think that's the max, maybe, question mark. And if it gets to 0, you risk the magic dying. So now we have to decide apparently where our cozy cafe is located. Is it in the countryside? Is it in a village? Is it in a crowded city? Now, again, this is a lot of art and a lot of layout and a lot of little graphical elements for what essentially is 3 bullet points of text. Again, not a whole lot here. So, obviously and this is just the quick start. So they're making use of their space for sure. But also this is the advantage when the artist probably has all these just in their catalog ready to go. That probably helps. Thank you, Cal, for the $2 tip.
Calderi Arc tip $2. This game is a 10 on the Hallelujah Jack scale created by the Prophet Z Basho.
I don't know if it's a 10. It's pretty close, Cal. It's pretty close. But it depends. It depends if we're all tied into our murder visions or not. Thank you, Cal. Then we get into the vibe of our cafe. A lot of important elements here, of course. Like is it from the 1940s or is it brand new? And we can describe details. Don't worry about too much about defining the layout of the cafe in detail. It's not that type of game. The important thing is that each of us contributes an element of furniture or decoration based off of our own vibes. Who wants to start? As the guide, I'll go last. And then we have to name, just spelling error, should be our, but then we got to give our cafe a name, cafe sheet, and vibe. Like the individual witches, the cafe also has a sheet. We can write down the answers to various questions on it, personalizing the venue. At the top of the sheet, we find one last element, the vibe. The vibe score, which generally shows how welcoming our cafe is. This is a number that ranges from 0 to 6. It is influenced by and affects various elements of the game, such as how long a customer wants to stay in your cafe. At the beginning of the game, given our efforts to restore the venue, the vibe score is 3. Okay, really quick, in chat, everybody add in a detail, a piece of furniture or an element of decoration that you're adding to the Last Call Tavern, right? Cafe, Cafe of Last Call. Last Call Cafe. So throw it out there. I want to see it in chat. Ooh, okay. We got a huge plant, a credenza, a cursed monkey paw, a magic mirror. Apparently, G Helmet wants a panini press. An old ice box that's a little rusty around the edges and hinges. A broken jukebox. Ooh, a leg lamp. That's very nice. It's a major reward. A big puffy couch. Thank you, Zipperfist, for giving us some place to chill. A bookshelf of Anne Rice paperbacks. Wow. Awesome. FP Edwards says a record player, naturally, for all of our vinyls. Ooh, a super comfy chair that fits 1.5 people. Perfect. Technomancer says cat cafe. Jess, I think it is actually the default assumption in this game that there are cats everywhere. I'm not sure. I think you can't not have it be a cat cafe. It may not. It literally may be in the mechanics of the game that it has to be a cat cafe. Beowulf wants to add a sacrificial altar.
Boothby tipped $5. Can this game be hacked to work with blueberries? the only flavor better than pumpkin spice.
You know, yeah, we could. The blueberry jam. Boothby, you need to make a hack of this game powered by pumpkin spice and call it blueberry jams with a Z. Okay. And instead of pumpkin spice, it'll be called blueberry jams with a Z. And instead of a coffee shop, it's like a blues. It's like a blues. What's the fuck it called? Like a blues music venue, right? It's blueberry jams, right? And it's all the same aesthetic, but for like blues music and, you know, and different musical licks. And and we'll have the 6 things and they can be, you know, same kind of basic concepts, but it'll be musical based and blueberry jams with a Z. Yeah. Like a juke joint. Yeah, exactly. But also like, you know, feeling the vibe, getting independent artists. We can have a system for like bringing in new artists and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, well, no. Come on. We got to keep the kind of lo-fi vibe, right? Are you a bass player? Are you a lead singer? You know, are you lead guitar? That's the kind of witch. Dr. Dehart says that there is a unlocked, I would hope it's unlocked. My God, the game has almost $500,000. A stretch goal that lets you have spirit dogs. All right, this game just went up another notch in my appreciation here. To build or not to build says that we should have teabag themed beanbag chairs. Nice. Vivid Pilgrim is thinking about practicality here, and I appreciate that. Laptop chargers. A geometric tapestry from Roman. An old pinball machine for Simon. A mahogany chest drawer that needs some love. Love it. KC wants to add in a worn leather chair with a throw pillow and a cozy book, but annoyingly, no table for my fucking coffee. Nope, this is every indie coffee shop I've ever been to. That's right, Simon. Generalin wants to add a dream catcher, a flower of life woven from green tea leaves. All right. So that's our vibe score. By the way, we're almost all the way. Nope. We're actually into the quick start play. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to walk through moment 1, which is a scene 1, which is the grand opening. We got some more microfiction. The cafe is now spick and span, though some of us are probably still sweeping the already shiny floors and scrubbing the countless cups, driven by a nervous twist in our stomach. The constant presence of the fount's power envelops our hearts, ready to burst forth at any moment in a spark of magic. The adventure book cover is not safe for YouTube. Is this it? Is this the adventure book cover? Oh, okay. I see the adventure book cover. So that's the adventure book cover, apparently. Almost an upskirt shot, I guess. Apparently, it's fine. There's nothing. You know, there's nothing inappropriate about that. Oh, you know what I just realized? I don't have my voice mod on this new computer. Otherwise, I would switch over to my anime voice, but I don't have it. The lights come on and the curtains rises as we take the stage for our cafe's grand opening. We exchange nervous glances. What can we do to make sure that it is a success? So we're about to experience the game's first moment, a scene or a handful of scenes with specific mechanics focused on an explicit goal. Moments can relate to unique situations, such as this grand opening, or fall into distinct categories. Cafe, free time, and... okay. So that's what you and me is. Okay, so there's kind of a Blades in the Dark feel here, I get. So we've got free time, which sounds like it's FBT, free play from Blades in the Dark. Cafe, I'm going to guess, is a bit like downtime, right? Cafe is probably like more, I'm guessing, going to be more of a procedural part where we actually do the business of running the cafe, maybe do more with like making drinks and like dealing with inventory. And then UMEs, unexpected magical events, are going to be a little bit more directed, right? They're going to be a little bit more like a score where it's going to be a very specific problem that's cropped up because of a weird magical shenanigans, and we have to specifically address that issue. So that's actually, that is kind of based, in my opinion, on some Blades in the Dark style tech. And you kind of see the elements of that there. So we take turns. Look at this. We take turns describing the emotions, thoughts, and actions of our witches. Now, here's what's really interesting about this game. Note what this says. It's not talking about, this is very Chubos. Do you remember Chubos? How it talked about, like, there's this idealized version of people who roleplay, right? Who only roleplay in character in order to build immersion. But Chubos, and this is talking about describing our emotions, right? Remember in Chubos, we have to say, I am emoting, right? I am emoting anger, right? We're describing what our character is thinking, right? We don't just speak in character. No, we say things like that. This is my character's internal monologue, or boy, I'm really angry. We don't just like act it out, Do I have a 2200 Kelvin bulb? Buddy, who do you think you're talking to? There we go. We got this is me on maximum warmth, which looks terrible, by the way. So I'm gonna change that back. Okay. So, anyways, we can always intervene to help our less enterprising companions take part in the narrative. So what do you think? Yeah, voice their character's inner monologue. Now, Beowulf, being, of course, snide and an elitist, Beowulf the elitist, by the way, says, yeah, because this isn't a role-playing game. It's a storytelling game. When it's our turn, we narrate freely, interacting with the other witches or characters present, and use the essence die or our imagination to add details to the story. Most moments need only one test per witch. Typically, the tests and the descriptions of their outcomes end the moment. Depending on what happens in the story, we may be tempted to use multiple tests during a moment. This is usually not necessary. Our witches are competent and magical people. In other words, make one test, move on. Especially if we act consistently with our traits. We are able to do and make happen in the story more or less what we want to have happen. In other words, don't make a bunch of tests. Don't roll a bunch of stuff,
Cost tipped $5. I wasn't too sure about this game, but you and the art/aesthetic sold it to my. I just showed it to my girlfriends that are, and they all over it.
Yeah, I mean, this game is directing a very specific type of narrative storytelling play. It is using these themes, these ideas, to guide the story and guide your actions. I think it's kind of interesting in that respect. All right, so we've got by the way, so this is like what the guide would ask. The question, and therefore the goal, is how do we best prepare our grand opening for our venue? Each of us can choose how they want to try to improve the cafe's vibe just before during the opening. We might have crafted tables and furniture in an unmistakable style, prepared breathtaking decorations, stage a musical or poetry performance, coordinate the event, or take place at the cash register. So, do any of us have any ideas as to make our opening truly special? Let's manage the resolution of this moment in the simplest terms, working alone. So this is the basic way of doing it. Each witch here contributes independently to the situation with an independent test. How do we plan to contribute? Once we have described our actions, we should decide which trait that we're going to try to bring into play. We take turns resolving our tests. The guide decides which essence is the target of the roll. If we want to change it, then we may have to redefine our action, right? In order to do it, do it. Remember that we can use magic to change the outcome of the dice, but it costs 1 magic point for each change. We make tests, and whoever rolled the dice explains what happens. The guide will make their test last. After all the tests have been made, we add the finishing touches to the moment, thinking about how our actions have changed the situation. So we kind of role play, right? We shoot the shit, we FBT, and then at some point during the scene, during the moment, every witch will get 1 chance to take a defined action that will meaningfully either move the story/narrative in a sort of favorable direction, right? An upbeat, or in a disfavorable or unfavorable or downbeat situation. We use the dice to indicate how that resolved. And so everybody gets basically 1 bite at the apple per scene to make like a big, actual, meaningful input. Everything else is just FBT. Each favorable outcome, each upbeat, increases your vibe by 1. Each unfavorable outcome reduces the vibe by 1. Note, a little note on table talk. Table talk is a crucial part of any role-playing game. Asking who does or uses what, as well as commenting on the game, the classic "that roll was," are an essential part of the hobby. In Pumpkin Spice, however, these questions and comments are central to the play experience and can be managed directly from the witch's point of view. After all, we are running the cafe together, aren't we? To ease this immersion, you could consider that most of the game's terminology, meaning that our witches can frequently talk about essences while they're working alone, or talk about spells, or the vibe, right? So it's like, basically, you can kind of treat the mechanics diegetic. So in other words, you can speak kind of mechanically, and you're kind of still speaking in character. So let's give an example. Irene is playing a green witch. And do we have Irene's character sheet? No, I think this is Irene. She's the green witch, right? She sees herself as one with nature. She wants to protect her loved ones. Her magic heals the body. She's unpredictable, an animal lover, and she's curious. She's also a green witch, so her essence is tied to the nature symbol. Okay. Irene says, so I'm thinking of making some beautiful floral arrangements, but using real flowers, something aromatic and relaxing. Lavender, for example. After all, I am one with nature. The guide says, fantastic. I would say the essence you need is definitely the nature essence. Perfect. So I'll take 1d6, plus I'll take 1d6 for my trait, which is one with nature. Geez, I got a cat and a book. That would be an unfavorable outcome, but I want it to go well. I call upon the font, and I use 1 magic point to transform one of those essences into a nature symbol. The perks of being a green witch. You see that my compositions are a little limp at first, as if they don't appreciate the vases, but then I move around the room dancing and humming, and the flowers begin to perk up. They start swaying happily, giving off a wonderful scent. So that was me using the mechanics and, going from, descriptive role-playing, description about wanting to create a floral arrangement, and kind of tying it into my trait and my mechanic, to a mechanical role, to a little bit of mechanical, meta currency spending, and then back into the fiction, right, of describing how my magic kind of, basically brings the flowers to life and they begin, smelling good. Okay. Here's another example of a moment that you might do. Now, in this example, this is a different type of scene. Okay, this is rush hour. This is a special type of moment. It is a cafe scene. And in a cafe moment, that puts our barista skills to the test. Maybe a school trip shows up, a group of friends, or an impromptu birthday party. Let's try to understand how the rush hour manifests. So in order to start this scene, the guide rolls 1d6 plus 1d6 for every witch. So if you were playing with 4 witches, you would roll 5d6. So you're going to generate 5 random moods. The essences that come up represent the mood of the customers, the type of requests that they are interested in, as well as the essences that we must try to obtain while working together. So in other words, this is sort of a more random, low prep procedural thing, and we're sort of establishing the mood and the kind of challenges that this cafe scene requires. In other words, we are randomly generating a set of symbols that we have to try to match, I'm guessing, through our actions and through our dice rolls. And sure enough, it is that way. This moment needs a slightly different action resolution. Now we should work together. Let's decide who will lead our efforts and roll the dice. Once this is done, the leader describes the scene and selects the trait that they want to bring into play. 1d6 plus an additional d6 for every trait level that they have. Now, in turn, we each describe how we contribute to the scene and we select one of our traits. We hand over the dice from our trait level. In this case, 1d6 because it's level 1. But only the person leading the test rolls the dice. We may use our magic according to the normal rules, but we can use it to transform any of the dice rolled, not just the ones we contributed. If the outcome is favorable, the vibe goes up by 1 point. If the outcome is unfavorable, it goes down by 1 point for each missing symbol that we did not obtain. So basically, roll a bunch of dice, and we have to try to match it. So in this case, there are 5 witches in play, and we get empathy, 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 stillness, stillness. And so our job as witches is to add, describe how we're doing, build a big dice pool, roll it, and then try to match symbols or use our magic points to sort of convert them into the symbols that we need. For each symbol that we're missing, we get minus 1 vibe. And then lastly, we get the first medium. Mediums are people with a unique connection to the fountain. There are many theories about why this is, but even veteran witches admit there is no certainty. Many believe that a spark of the fountain dwells within its mediums, or that mediums allow the magic to act upon the world. Mediums are sometimes drawn to their fountain, arriving there in search of something they didn't know they needed. A medium has just entered our venue, but who are they? So basically, what is it, an important NPC? Does anyone want to roll an essence die and see what comes up? Let's think about the options together and define their appearance, gender, or any other men. Again, low prep, right? Just busting it out. Mediums are essential to witches. They create a connection between them and the fountain and allow the magic to grow and thrive. But how? With the right combination of essences infused into a tasty beverage, of course. Each beverage is composed of 3 magical ingredients, besides its normal medium ingredients. Special spices and aromas that capture the essences. The mapping between the essences is as follows. Starry ginger, energized mint, sunlit turmeric, I think that's supposed to be effervescent, chamomile, crimson cinnamon, and lunar lavender. For now, our pantry is simple but well stocked. We have 3 doses of each ingredient in our cafe. So if we look at our cafe, we can see that there is actually room for multiple ingredients. So next what we have to do is, during this scene, the guide stops playing their witch and starts playing the medium, interacting with the other medium in turn and basically role-playing. You may interact with the medium a number of times equal to 1 plus the vibe of your cafe. So the better vibes that your cafe has, the more opportunities you have to vibe with the customer. Consider this a countdown. Each time the witches interact with the medium, the guide lowers the count by 1. When it reaches 0, they want their beverage. So, what do? Well, we use those questions in order to figure out what kind of beverage to make them. The guide will secretly roll 3d6 to generate what essences the person is looking for. And then they will role play in a certain way to sort of hint to the other players what essences they need. If this sounds familiar to you, this is exactly what I talked about from Legend of the Five Rings, where creatures have, or all NPCs have a demeanor. And demeanor will make an NPC either more vulnerable or resistant to certain approaches. But the GM doesn't just come out and tell you this. They indicate that to you through the way that they roleplay that NPC. It's up to the players to pay attention and figure out. In fact, the starter set for Legend of the Five Rings is all about basically teaching the players to pay attention, to pick up context clues and go, oh, this NPC is probably better at listening to an earth-based approach, right? Very solid, honest, logical, reasonable, based in historical facts, rather than a, say, fire-based approach built on, passion and innovation and excitement. So, we should use an earth ring rather than a fire ring. And it's basically the same idea, So, for example, if our customer really, gets a bunch of these nature essences, my job is to make sure that they feel suffocated by technology or city life, talking about how they're burned out and, they just, they thought working from home was going to be great, but now they're just online 24/7, on call 24/7. They never feel like they're free, and the players go, oh, okay, put it together. This guy needs some nature love. Anyways, which makes sense. So once the countdown is ended, so basically you get 7 opportunities, you get 1 plus the number of vibes that you have. So it's better to have a better vibe in cafe. The witches, it's kind of like a mini mystery, basically. The witches choose which 3 ingredients they will use to spice up the beverage. And you can use the same ingredient multiple times. For example, maybe the GM rolled nature symbol, nature symbol, nature symbol. Each correct essence has a visible and positive effect on the medium and generates 1 magic point for the fountain. If the witches guessed all of the essences and prepared the perfect beverage, something unlocks in the medium as the connection with the fountain blooms and blossoms. The fountain gains 1d6 additional magic points. So this is how you restore magic to your fountain, is by making great beverages for those very special customers. And then lastly, we have the unexpected magical event. This is the UME, which is kind of like your problem scene, right? This is a special type of moment that interrupts the normal flow of life in the cafe, right? Roll for initiative. These events occur randomly, usually 1 per day. They have a more fluid structure than other moments and can become quite complex. The preparation of a UME, unexpected magical event, is up to the guide, who can also now rely on pre-constructive situations. So this is the part of the game that is not low prep, as is in this example. In our story, the event is caused by a group of spirit cats, which are attracted to the sudden vitality of our fountain. Looking around, we can see them moving around the room, disappearing and reappearing, leaping between the furniture and playing tricks as only cats do. These creatures are usually friendly and invisible to mundane eyes, but recent magical fluctuations have made them hyperactive and even semi-visible. Fortunately, the glamour spell should solve the situation. So this is where we get into spells. Spells are special uses of magic with predefined effects that can be discovered or invented by witches. The most experienced can cast spells working alone, but in our case, we should probably work together with our entire coven. In both cases, each spell requires a specific combination of essences as well as spending some of our magic points. So here is an example of a spell. This is the glamour spell. It is a generic type spell. It requires 1 magic point to cast. We need to get 2 essences, one of stillness and one of nature. The casting requirements is conditions. The spell affects a small area or 1 or more nearby targets. If these conditions are not met, casting the glamour instead requires nature, stillness, wisdom. So in other words, if we want it to be a large area or multiple targets, many targets that are not nearby, then we need more symbols. Then we get a kind of generic description. A useful spell that reinforces the natural enchantments which hide magic or creatures from the eyes of mundane beings, making them invisible or almost imperceptible. Ideal for preventing magical incidents. So there we go. We are dealing with 1 spirit cat for every 3 magic points in the fountain. We will need the fact that there is only one problem. Glamour's area of effect is limited, and so we will need to gather the cats close together for this magic to have its best effect. The simplest UME can be resolved with a single test, either working together as a group or working alone. But in many cases, such as this one, we will need to take care of some primary goals. So basically, we have a series of linked clocks, because first, we have to try to gather the spirit cats together. Each witch can make 1 test. You need to get nature or authority essences. And if we do not manage to gather the glamour spell, the cats together, then the glamour spell will be more difficult. You are literally herding cats. Yes, correct. So we play that out, we roll that, we get different symbols, we gather the creatures together, and then we eventually cast our spell. So if we get a favorable result from a spell to end the unexpected magical event, then just as the first customers begin to wonder where the strange meows are coming from, the spell activates, reinforcing the glamour that hides the cats. However, if we get an unfavorable result, the spell fizzles, and the cats run around, completely tangible. Patrons stare in amazement while others start playing with these strange translucent cats. Fortunately, the human mind is accustomed to pretending nothing is wrong, and no one really realizes how unbelievable extraordinary this event is. But people will talk a long time about the gray cats in our cafe. Countdown to a magical incident goes from 4 to 3. When it reaches 0, the next moment we play will be a magical incident. So I think that's on our cafe sheet. Yeah, so tick, 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 tick. Which apparently is bad, I guess. All right, so we have an example here of kind of 4 different types of moments. One is like a full-ass mini game where you have to like potentially do some linked clocks in order to eventually cast a spell or a ritual in order to deal with a problem. Another one is our NPC interaction scene, which allows us to heal our magic, which we do through sort of a kind of quasi-mystery investigation vibe where the players have to kind of ask questions of the NPC in order to sort of figure out what kind of beverage to perform them. It also benefits you to have special types of ingredients in your pantry, which you can use in order to try to match what the NPC needs. I can imagine cool ingredients having, multiple essences associated with them. We also get a group check mechanic where we all pile our traits together and roll it in order to try to solve a customer scene where we're trying to basically match all the different customers and serve them appropriately. A cafe scene, basically running the cafe. And then lastly, there is the individual scene where basically every witch gets their own test to describe how they help out the vibe of the restaurant. If you pass, you add +1 to the vibe. If you fail, you subtract a vibe. So if we all pass, and there's 4 witches, we could add as much as +4 vibes. If we all failed, we could potentially subtract 4 vibes. Got a lot more, got very more mechanical at the end there. And that is the entire game, as far as I could tell. Hey, tip from Helmet.
$5. I support first looks of cozy game.
Thank you for the tip. Appreciate you so much. So, what can we expect in the full game? Questionnaires for how to create your own witches. Tips, suggestions, and examples on how to use your essence dice. Low prep procedures for alternating between different types of moments throughout the day. Many playable moments, including UMEs and advice on how to create new ones. Suggestions and examples on how to create NPC mediums, as well as a selection of pre-built ones that you can bring into play. Will these NPCs be fleeting characters in your story or recurring characters? A pantry full of new ingredients and new spells to discover, as well as advice on how to create your own, and procedures for detailing your witch's path to realization, which will allow you, presumably, to basically progress and develop your character's traits day by day. And that is Pumpkin Spice. Running a magical cafe, protecting the world's magic, and telling a story. One latte and a couple of D6 at a time. Well, that is Pumpkin Spice. Now, that is quite the response. Testy Trekkie, my wife has informed me I am buying this. Apparently that is apparently we found the target demo for this. Apparently people's partners apparently people like this. All right, we're gonna have a rate the vibes. All right, here we go. Rate the vibe of this game. Lame, meh, chill, cozy, vibes with a Z, of course. Now, Testy Trekkie says, my wife is a pierced, tattooed goddess with full sleeves and leg tats. Well, we found the demo, buddy, and I'll only say this: congrats. And my own pumpkin spice latte is finished. Now, while this poll continues, I do think it is important to for science, to really highlight a couple of things. Number one, I believe it's entirely possible that this witch may be my favorite witch from the art of the book. Love the redheads, very cute. Love the midriff, love the belly piercing. I love the sort of the ribbon tat there. However, I will admit that this is probably my least favorite, by the way. She's pretty cute. I will say that this one did make me stop. Again, she's thick. And she's got the tunnels, which I love as well. A lot of these witches do. So good vibes. She's pretty cute. I like her eye makeup. She's kind of got a wing. She's kind of got a wing thing going on, which I like. She's got a pointy nose. Apparently because of all the cats, Boothby. Also, apparently it's an anime thing. I don't know exactly what it is, but she's also very cute. I mean, those shorts that she is wearing are barely classified as shorts. I do like the curly hair, so she's pretty cute. she looks like she's smoking, and I don't like smoking, so I know it's a sucker, but yeah. She's pretty cute too. So yeah, there's some cute girls in here. I have threatened my group with this for the okay. Now this is the real. To be fair, she is sucking on a. I think she's supposed to be sucking on a sucker. So that is you can. It's in her. You know, that's definitely very aesthetic. Okay, so overall, people have said that they rate the vibes as vibes and cozy. Overwhelmingly, no one said lame. People said meh. Now, oh, you think it's a spoon? Okay. Now, here's the more important question. All right. Hold on a sec. Loading, please wait. I need one more. Okay, got it. Go with God and vote. Vote your heart. Vote your hearts. Find stillness by rolling the cat icon within yourself and choose and answer honestly. Beowulf. Is this a monkey paw poll? Sort of, but you know. No Fatal is allowed to be played as a community game in my community. I'll say that. No love for Chubos, huh? Well, pumpkin spice is definitely getting the vibes. So here's my thought, actually, about this. I think this game is kind of fun. I don't know that it's particularly deep. I don't know that it's particularly thrilling gameplay. But it's guided role playing, and to me, that's really cool. In fact, I like games that, you know, I consider that a role playing game, because this game is all about playing your role and playing your character and using your character's traits in order to establish and to guide and direct your game. So I think that's really, really cool. Now, that being said, obviously it doesn't have, you know, some of the elements that we would traditionally think of as you know, there's very, 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 very narrativist. The gameplay is very minimal, lacking. Simulationism is not even remotely a factor. So this is pretty high, you know, very much more of what we would call a storytelling game, where you are using the game. But then again, here's the thing, right? Aren't all role-playing games, you know, kind of designed to help us tell stories? You know, they are. Now, here's the difference. Some people think role-playing game is about, you know, being a character. I don't. I actually think role-playing games is about experiencing moments and telling stories. So that's why I don't have that kind of knee-jerk vomit reaction that some people have. But I you know, this game is clearly more like Microscope, you know, or Quiet Year than it is, you know, some of the other games, more traditional RPGs. There could be no doubt about it. But I mean, I think this could be now. Playing a campaign of this, I think there's some structural issues here that I don't necessarily fully get into, which is like, I find that you only getting 3 traits feels very limiting. It feels like this would get really old really fast. And I feel like this kind of really limits your character, especially because you're so punished by not tagging one of your traits. And you know, then you're going to be stuck with these traits. I don't know if stuck is the right word, but you're going to have these traits presumably for a while because you have to level them up. That makes it even more likely that you want to just continue to use that trait over and over again. So I worry about like sameness being a problem with the way that the game plays out. So that is a mechanical concern, but you know, the dice mechanics are simple, cute, and quaint. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, the mechanic that I think I like the most is the one where the GM becomes an NPC, or where the guide becomes an NPC, one of the mediums, secretly rolls 3 dice, and then role plays those symbols through their actions, and then the other players have to kind of figure out, based off of the way I'm role playing the medium, what ingredient, what kind of drink to make that character to try to help them and try to solve them. That is by far, I actually think that's legitimately cool, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. As a GM, I think that would be fun. As a player, I think that would be fun. Very Legend of the Five Rings-y, trying to figure out the demeanor. I thought that was really, really cool. So I thought that part was really, really cool. You know, the roll dice and then match the symbols. I mean, that's just like a, you know, kind of almost like a Yahtzee type game. It's not particularly deep gameplay. Yes, there's an element of, hey, these mechanics are just here to prompt you to create and add cool elements to our shared mutual story, right? It's really just an excuse to be creative with your friends. It's not really trying to be an interesting game mechanic. I don't even think it's really trying to be a fun game mechanic. It's just trying to be a mechanic that gets you to storytell in a slightly constricted fashion, you know, which it's just not a bad thing if that's what the game is going for, in which case I do think it works. And then, you know, the details on the whole spell, you know, this whole spell system is a little bit wonky, but yeah, I mean, it seems like that is more of like I was not expecting there to be like a list of predefined spells in the game, which I thought was really strange. But I guess as your coven develops basically a retinue of spells, you start getting more tools to deal with these magical events. And there's probably like a fun problem solving thing as a group, because you might only have a limited number of spells, just like a low level wizard. And so when something happens, you got to creatively work as a group to think, how do we use the spell that we have to try to solve this issue? Is this a great solution, or is it an okay solution, or is it just a bad solution? And then, of course, as you get more and more spells, you get more and more flexibility and more ability to handle stranger and more unusual, unexpected magical events. So it kind of feels a bit like a wizard in D&D, where you accumulate more and more spells in your book, and you're able to handle more and more different types of problems because you go, I have the perfect spell for that. Whereas, you know, early on, you're like, I don't know, I only have magic missile, so I guess I magic missile it. All of my solutions are cast magic missile. Now that would have been a brutal thing. Hey, there's all these spiritual cats. Oh, spiritual, you say? I believe these creatures are weak to force damage. I magic missile the cats and I kill them. Yes. Right. Favorable. And also, too, because of the way that the symbols work, I think in almost in every case, if you're willing to burn magic points, you can turn any roll essentially into a form of success. So it really gets to that kind of, burning wheel torchbearer thing, which is like, it's not about whether you win or lose. It's about like, how important is this to you, and how much are you willing to pay in order to achieve success? How much are you willing to, it's not what you cast, it's what you cast for. Yeah. And how much are you willing to pay that results? Like if the group says, hey, this is really important, we could spend, as a group, I could spend 2 magic points to change this to that. You could spend 1 magic point to change that to that. And you could spend 1 magic point to change that to that. And we would get a perfect success. Are we willing to pay for, is this something that as a group, as a story, as part of our ongoing narrative, as a part of the way that we identify ourselves and our riches and our coven, is this something that we're willing to spend 4 of 10 for? Because what if something happens down the line? What if we get an unexpected magic event? What if we get something else? Because the risk is your magic goes to 0. Now, Kuzkrat says, I worry about death spiral vibes, with losing vibes per missed rush hour and then not having enough vibe to make the medium check. Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, there is actually a losing mechanic here, right? Where if your vibe is bad, you won't be able to ask the medium great questions. You won't be able to restore your magical power points, and eventually you might be unable to cast the magical spells or you modify the dice that you need in order to succeed. Yeah, but we don't know. I mean, we don't. The game wasn't entirely clear about what happens if you just keep getting unfavorable options. So I'm sure the real game will have deeper, more complex options for that. I somehow doubt that the cozy coffee game is going to be like, nope, you go bankrupt, they sue you, and they run you out of business. But you know what? Maybe. In which case, this game would officially be more hardcore than 99% of D20 games out there. You heard it here first. This game is more challenging than Pathfinder 2. Right. And also, too, to be clear, the medium can never hurt you, right? Because if you get 1 point of magic for each successful ingredient that you get, the game admits that getting all of them correct is a difficult thing and should be really rewarded, which is why it gives you the bonus plus D6. I think most of the time you might only get 1 or 2, especially if your characters don't have the vibes. So a medium should be looked at as an opportunity, right? Never as a punishment, because even if you get all of its orders wrong, I don't think you lose anything. I think you just don't get any magic points back. So it's really more of an opportunity in anything. Yeah. So, right. I think the only thing that do damage is the UMEs, correct? So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, it's definitely an interesting approach. Of course you were. My flex. London says my flex is that I was the second backer. But yeah, overall, I think they're doing something right, because while we've been sitting here talking, I think it was at 4. It's gained like 7,000 euro, I think, while we've been sitting here. Now, unfortunately, this is the world that we live in. Now FL4G is pointing out that by the way, this is a game that has a very, very moody vibe. It is very, very, very top-down design. It's got this really big artist. I mean, the person has 500,000 Instagram followers. If that's a lot of people. So I mean, again, put it into perspective. This person has 500,000 Instagram followers. If just 1% of those Instagram followers backed this, that's 5,000 backers, and the thing's at 4,000 backers. So I think, right, or close to it. It's at 4,000 backers. So there is a non-zero number of these people who are literally just super fans of the artist and backed it for the art and to support the artist, right? So there's that. Number 2, I think we've talked about this. The cozy core movement, I think, is growing. I think as things become more stressful and horrifying and dystopian in our real lives, I think people turn to games and, want something that is a release from that. It would be funny if this game turns into, some sort of massive super stressful game, and everyone's like, "Oh God, I'm gonna fuck up the cafe, and it's gonna be all my fault. Magic is gonna die, and it's because I didn't know how to make a goddamn coffee." Yeah, but yeah. So, but Acheron also has a great record. Again, I can name several games that they have made. They've made Lex Arcana. They made Brancolonia. I don't know any of the other ones, but I do know those. And so they definitely have a track record from that perspective. Also, I'm pretty sure they're an Italian studio, and we know the Italians have been crushing it, right? The Italians and the Scandinavians have just been crushing it in the RPG scene. So, but that's what my game is. It's the cozy game that makes you stress about shitty life moments. Are you going to have a tote bag on your Kickstarter? No. And that's why my Kickstarter, if I'm lucky, will do, $100,000. And, part of me is like, I accept it, but also too, I understand like this, you can't deny that this game looks gorgeous, right? I mean, the layout, yes, it is more vibes than substance, right? More style than substance, but it looks beautiful. It's easy to read. It's fun to read. That's true. That is true. That explains the powerhouse, Scotty. That is.
I am strong.
That is very true.
Strong.
So, right, but and Nimble, I think, is closing in on $500,000. So shout out to Evan. Trevor did 500,000 in his game, was pretty niche. But remember too that Trevor built a very devoted and loyal fan base. He has something like 50,000 or something subs or something like that. So again, if you have 50,000 subscribers or some number of really dedicated fans, then if you can get 500 or 1,000 of them or something like that to back at $100, $200 level or $200 level, and then you also get the random people that come in and join your game anyways, from the wider audience, it's pretty powerful, right? There's definitely an advantage to having an audience. In fact, if anything, well, I would say this. Sure, yeah, you could run different things. Yeah, Nimble at 445,000 with 2,645 backers, so it's just crushing it. Trevor Duvall does Me, Myself, and Die. He's a YouTube channel where he is most known. He's a voice actor, and he's most known for doing self-plays, right, and playing, games where he takes on the role of multiple characters. Style over substance. Pumpkin spice is cyberpunk? ? Well, I think the advantage here is that pumpkin spice is also trying to do, this really minimalist game. So that is to their advantage, right? If you're going to have style over substance with a minimalist game is Morkborg, right? It's Pirateborg, and those games have also done really, really well. So, yeah. Right. MCDM also has the ridiculously high tiers, but also Matt Colville had an absolutely huge following. And, some people have said, oh, well, Derek, see, that's why you should make something, The problem, though, is that my following is, by design, very, very non-homogeneous, right? All the people who are following, Professor Dungeon Master kind of fit into a rough mold, right? All the people following Ben Milton, Questing Beast, fit into kind of a certain mold, right? All the people following SimzArt, art kind of fit into a certain mold of style and preference of play. Even Trevor, right? It is well known that Trevor Duvall and Me, Myself, Die, right? He liked the sim heavy games, and he likes the crunchy games and all that stuff. So when he comes out and says, hey guys, I'm doing a sim light game, a lot of his audience members are like, yes, this is the type of game that we want to see you play. Unfortunately, I am sort of defined by my lack of definition. I do like a wide variety of games. I've encouraged a community that plays a bunch of different games. And so if I come out with a game, any type of game, pick any game, there's a good chance that 90% of my audience won't be interested in that game. And so, I don't have, while I may have a very awesome audience who appreciates the wide variety of stuff. There's a lot of my people who aren't necessarily interested in in that type of game. So I've sort of now that is true. There are people who like to buy too many RPGs, and that would be part of our group. So there is that. Yes, and there's also like the Schadenfreude of being like, see, Derek, we bought it because you bought something and it's incredible. I need proof that you actually bought something or made something. It's crazy. Right. So that's now you're talking about the logistics of this, right? Which is, again, I don't know how this game came about, so I don't want to assume it, but it's possible that somebody just said, hey, Cozy Vibes are in. Look at this artist. Let's partner with them and we'll make a game to fit their art. So that's a really good winning strategy. But as I've said before, that's just not how I don't want to make a game like that where I just go, we've joked about games like that, right? Where Derek, who has, I like to think, a pretty decent insight into what's going on in the RPG sphere, has been like, oh, if we take this and we blend this IP with this IP and this fandom with this fandom, cross multiply it, make it, 5e compatible or make it Shadow Dark or whatever, we could have a hit on our hands. So it's very, it's very engineered. It's a very constructed product. And you could do that. Hell, I there's a part of me that says I need to do that because I do need to make a living doing this. You guys are awesome and I love you all, but making 200, 300 bucks a week, it's not exactly a great career or livelihood. And so I understand the need to do that. My $1 million Kickstarter idea, Fruitful Void, the RPG, do what you want. Yes. Right. Tactical romantasy. That was what I had the other day. Simon, that's like a whole separate conversation, right? And this is where I also get kind of, in my own head about things like, do I really want to make a game that people buy, put on their shelf and never play? No. Not really. I would like for people to, I would like to make a game that I would be really excited, to play. And the problem there is that, three little mice made Twilight Sword and somehow didn't get sued by Nintendo. My luck would be I would make a game inspired by Lego or Minecraft and I would get the fucking shit sued out of me. You all know it's true. That's just my luck. It would just be somehow I would be the one person, my small, tiny Kickstarter that doesn't even make $1 million, So, some random guy in America made $350,000 with a legally distinct Lego RPG. We need to sue him. And I promise you, I can, it's like a Raven Simone moment, right? Where I'm seeing a vision of the future. I just see myself getting the cease and desist order. Yeah, or not. That's also an option. So, anyways, add a tier for a legal defense fund. Now we're talking. Well, there are other building block brands besides Lego, right? But yeah. So, why Lego or Minecraft? I haven't gotten that from DTX or Derek. Well, no, we're talking about a game that actually people would buy and want to play. I don't know, man. Legend of Zelda kind of came out before all those JRPGs. So in many ways, Zelda is the precursor to all those games. So there's that. Cal, that's like arguing for me making a Wilderfeast mega game. Yes, there are people who do want to play a Wilderfeast mega game. 25. The number of people who are like, you know what I want? I want a more mechanically deep, complex, gamist version of Daggerheart is probably small. Especially because everybody just bought the game. Now, Jess, what does Jess have to say? Jess says, oh, by the way, Jess, are you going to Are you going to Gamma, or are you going to Gamma, or what's the next convention you're going to, Jess? That's basically what I'm asking. I'm just curious. Jess says, in my opinion, writing an entire game is not the right fit for Derek. Writing a hard move zine or a useful tool for any game like backstory cards is the correct design space. Yeah, that is also, I think that is definitely true. Here's the thing. I could definitely create a game mentally. Could I actually like create the game physically? That's a tough sell. Right. If you make Derek Hart, you'll get 10K on your Kickstarter. That's a fair assessment. If you make Lego Minecraft, you'll make 300,000. I'd fuck with those numbers. That sounds about right. Thank you, Edward, by the way, for doing this. But yes, check the rest of the VOD. I mean, we're all done. We are wrapped up. Wow, look at that, a 2-hour stream. By the way, people are like, oh my God, Derek, your stream was so short. Do you know that all of our streams used to be 2 hours, like before this? Am I a Ren Fair guy? No, I am not. I've never done Gamma. I suspect it's not a good con. No, because you can meet all these publishers, Jess, and you can get work, and you can break free of your trad 20 Pathfinder pigeonholing that they've placed you in, and you can show them that you can do anything and everything that you've ever wanted. People already think they are playing Gamist heavy at Daggerheart. I know, that's what I'm saying. Giving people more of what they want. That's true. That is true. They're looking there to make money, not spend it. I guess that is true. All right. So what you're saying is we need a new convention where people could just pitch stuff. It's all right, Jess. When I make my game, I'll bring you on as a design lead or a development lead. Gary Con is a convention in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, aka the birthplace. Well, not the birthplace. Well, not the birthplace of Gary Gygax, but where Gary Gygax founded and ran TSR / Dungeons and Dragons. Are you a recovered emo with a thing for tatted alt women? Because I'm getting that vibe. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm a recovered emo. I just went on the Emos Not Dead cruise for 5 days and listened to emo music along with all sorts of other people in their mid 30s to late 40s. And bands that used to be like living at home out of my parents' basement, and now they're middle-aged people with kids at home, but like everybody else. But I like a wide spectrum of women, Trekkie. I don't have a particular type, but I don't dislike that vibe. I will say that. Thaddeus says, if you could bring on another designer for a theoretical project, who would you bring on? Well, that's easy. Smith. I mean, he's not a published designer, but, we've been friends for 30 years, so. And we, bounce off of each other pretty well. And Smith gets shit done, I'll say that. No, yeah, Gary Con. Well, I'll find out. It's going to be my first Gary Con, so I'll find out about it. Yeah. Yes, Hot Mulligan was there. Actually, Hot Mulligan was there. Make your own version of Mythic Bastion Lands Oddpocrypha section, but expanded and dedicated to running and playing PBTA-style games. You seem to be the authority on the matter. I don't know if I'm the authority on the matter, but I've played a lot of them. I have to say that. To be clear, when John Denver wrote that, he was talking about West Virginia, not the state. He's talking about the western part of Virginia. He's talking about the Blue Ridge Mountains. He's talking about the Shenandoah River, which is literally Shenandoah National Park, which is in Virginia. He's not talking about the state of West Virginia. He's talking about, like, the way I talk about East Ohio, Eastern Ohio. That's not a state. That's just a geographical direction in my state. But anyways. I don't know. I mean, again, it's a first look. It's not a review. I'd have to play it. You know, I don't know. But, you know, the game seems like they've got it, their style and aesthetic locked in. There's definitely some cozy vibes there. It's going to be a different flip through on your shelf. I mean, you know, if for no other reason than, you know, at a certain point, you know, just our eyes start to glaze over as we kind of, you know, get endless scrolling 2 or 3 column texts, you know. It's got a lot of art, a lot of graphical punch. You know, maybe it's more style over substance, maybe. But I think if you embrace it in the spirit in which it's intended, you know, I think it could be a useful engine for directing the game. Am I backing or buying? No, I will not be backing or buying. This is one of those games that, look, if for whatever reason, if they wanted to send me a free complimentary copy when it came out, I don't really have any connection to Acheron, but I wouldn't say no. But no, I mean, I don't have the money to just back everything willy-nilly that I would like to. And it's not a game that I would be, you know, itching over to play. So I'll just say that. But I respect the people who are and do, and I think it's cool for sure. So, yeah, that's it. That's the first look. Look at that. We're finished. We're done. I enjoyed my pumpkin spice latte. Thank you to Edward and Tasty Trekkie for the very generous donations that led to this. We did co-op the first look queue, but you know, $200 will do that. Look, I'm not a shill for this much money, but I'll shill for that much money. Kind of have to in order to make a living. But we'll be back with what is it, Thursday? Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's the end of the week. Oh, right. Tuesday, my internet was down, and then I streamed with my remote set up. And then Wednesday, we played One Ring, which was yesterday. London is going to polish us off here with the latte cold open. Made me smile. Well, I'm glad you appreciated the little bit of extra effort I made in order to for this game, for this particular stream. But thank you to London. Thank you to Trekkie for the super chats, tips, and for the support for this stream. That was very generous of you. Appreciate you. Thank you to G Helmet, Koss, Dr. D Hart, Booth Bay, Calderiac, Scotty F, Apex, and Edward. Also, thank you to everybody who supported us on Twitch.tv. Again, if you have Amazon Prime, once a month you can throw your sub to us. It gives us a couple bucks. It doesn't cost you any money, and it steals it directly from Jeff Bezos' wallet, or at least I like to think it does. But use it or lose it. So if you're going to use it, we'd appreciate it. Use it on somebody. You're paying for it regardless. But that is going to do it for me. I'm going to gratefully end a show early. Thank you, by the way, for picking a first look that wasn't a 375-page manual. Oh, aren't you going to do book 2 as well? Those get very hectic, and it's cool that we actually got to look through an entire game during a first look. God forbid. That's crazy. But yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. Look forward to the next couple of days, especially after you watch this, that you're just going to get hammered on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You're going to get hammered with ads for this. You know, the algorithm's smart enough to know that you clicked on this, you're fucked. You're going to get every ad you've ever seen. Even if you backed it, you're probably going to get every single ad. It's going to be in every feed. They are opening the fire hose for the marketing. It's definitely a testament to how successful marketing could be in RPGs, I think. Anyways, thank you, everyone. Please check us out, patreon.com/nightsoflastcall. Join our group. Come join our Discord. It's a private Discord. And hang out with us. Talk about coffee. It'll be great. But otherwise, if we don't see you in the Patreon, we'll see you next time on Nights of Last Call. Good night, everybody. Peace out.